All right. All right. Good evening, Senators. Great to have you.
Hi, Sam. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
What?
Well, happy Memorial Day, everyone. I hope everyone had a chance to hopefully take some time and recognize all those that sacrificed their life so that we could have the freedoms that we have today. And I remember back when I was on the council, I had the opportunity to attend Memorial Day, and it's always such a fitting day and important to remember how special today is. And sometimes, having long weekends, we kind of forget. And all weekend I was working in my restroom, so it was like the week went by too fast, but just because I've been working my butt off, actually. So, but hopefully everyone did enjoy their 3-day weekend. Thank you very much for taking some time Monday night of this weekend, or this long weekend, so that you could be here with us today and to listen to a great senator. And and that's going to be our first item of business, and I'll have Chris do the formal introduction. But on behalf of myself, Connie, it's always great to see you. You are one of our most dynamic and go-to people up in Sacramento. So we always enjoy having you, and I always enjoy going to you and especially to call you a friend. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Sam. And I'm always happy to be with you guys. I miss you guys.
Right. And all right, Chris, take it away.
Yeah, well, very briefly, because we all know Senator Leyva. I just wanted to say thank you, Senator Leyva, for carving out some time during this holiday weekend to meet with us. As you all know, Senator Leyva represents the California Senate District number 20, which includes our neighbors on Montclair, Ontario, Pomona, Chino. And after redistricting, who knows what else it might represent as well. Senator Leyva is chair of the Senate Education Committee and the Senate Democratic Caucus, among a bunch of other committees and subcommittees. She's past president of UFCW 1428. That's our Union Hall right on Arrow, right in Claremont. And this is something I didn't know until I did a little bit more research on Senator Leyva. She's a past president of the California Labor Federation, too.
Yes,
So
first woman to hold that position.
Yeah, so I introduce you all to Senator Leyva. Senator Leyva, thank you again.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon. Well, I guess it's evening, but it's still light out, so it seems like afternoon. My husband and I always say we have a love-hate relationship with daylight saving times. We love that it stays lighter longer, but sometimes we forget and eat dinner too late, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's like 9:30, and you got to get ready for the next day. But anyway, I have been the senator for the Senate District 20 for 7 years. Where has the time gone? It feels like I just ran yesterday. So what I'd like to do is just give you a little kind of brief update of what's going on in Sacramento. And then my favorite part is always to hear from all of you what's on your mind and any questions that you might have. First off, I hope all of you are safe and healthy. Your families are safe and healthy. This has been one heck of a, not year, but about a year and a half. It's been going on for quite some time. And I hope you are all vaccinated. I never thought in my life I'd be so excited to get a couple of shots. But boy, it does make me feel a lot better about flying, since I do fly twice a week starting in January. And let me tell you, those people on the plane, not business people. They are a whole different group of people. Might I even say, most of them are probably Trump supporters. And the poor flight attendants the whole time are trying to put your mask on, put your mask on. Anyway, so we did a couple things early on this year in the Senate. We moved some budget items early. One was school reopenings. And as the chair of education, I was part of the 3-member Senate team. And there was a 3-member assembly team that bargained with the governor to really kind of expand on what his ideas were about opening schools. For my part, and now that everyone who wants to be vaccinated can get vaccinated, it doesn't seem as big a deal. But back in January, making sure that we really pushed that our educators and para-educators and school personnel had access to vaccines was a really big deal. The governor did not want to do that. He didn't see it as something that was important to reopening schools. That was part of my issue. The other part was making sure schools that stayed in distance learning were still going to receive funding just like those who had opened, because I've heard from so many parents and heard from many of my districts that they didn't plan to reopen in the fall. Now I think that is changing, but again, we did not know in January. So I think flexibility in education is something that we really had to be key on, because this has been something like none of us have ever lived through. And our teachers, God bless them, what a job they have done distance learning, and now having to do the dual learning where they've got kids on Zoom and kids in the classroom. I honestly have no idea how you do that. So God bless our teachers. They're just doing an amazing job. And hopefully we in Sacramento can help them with the funds that they need so that they can hire the people that they need to help them, well, not the teachers, but administration, and that admin has what they need. The second thing that we moved very quickly on was a renters relief program, SB 91, to make sure that people who are still unemployed, people who have had terrible troubles with unemployment. My goodness gracious, of all times to have unemployment. It's never been, I think, the best system. Julie Sue, who is the executive director, has been tapped by the Biden administration. But I talked to her early on, and she said that in January of 2020, they were just switching over to an entirely new updated system that would produce checks faster. They could verify people's backgrounds faster, so that they could get checks out faster. And they didn't have time because COVID hit, so they had to use the antiquated system. So between an antiquated system, initially not enough people, and then also just the sheer amount of people applying for unemployment, it really overwhelmed the system. And Vanessa Huerco's here with my team. Hello, Vanessa. She and the rest of the team have worked extremely hard on making sure anyone who wasn't getting their unemployment, that we could help them get their unemployment, because this is just to put food on the table. Unemployment, you're not supposed to live on it, but be able to eat and do what you need to do for your kids. So Team Leyva worked very hard to make sure that we were able to do that for everyone. But the rent relief, SB 91, that is a program that doesn't just help the renters, but it also helps the landlords, which, my heart is always going to go with the renters. But we also have landlords that aren't big conglomerates, that aren't, don't own thousands of apartments. They might own one building. That might be their investment, and they need that rent just as much as the renter needs to have help paying the rent. So the program that we put together, I think, has been very helpful. But I do know I had a meeting last week with some community groups that have some concerns, and they think there's some loopholes in 91, which is great. We can fix those. So I've got a whole list of things to work on with my team at the Capitol, and then also with the governor's staff. So those are some things that we did quickly this year to help as many people as possible. Who knew we would have an absolutely record number of dollars in this year's budget? Oh my word. So it's a blessing and a curse, more blessing than a curse. It's just, how do we make sure we effectively spend it? Right now, I am working very hard on something called rate reform for our preschools and our child care centers. We cannot have a full recovery if working moms and dads, but mostly working moms, don't have a place to take their children. And we lost 3,700 child care centers in the state of California during the pandemic. And we have many more that are on the brink of closing because they had a lot more costs put on them. And, these are people that have our most precious things. They have our children, or in my case, my grandchildren. And if we don't provide them with what they need to serve our children, these are the leaders of the future. And then how do we have a full economic recovery, especially for working moms that need to go back to work, that want to go back to work? So we're working on that right now in the budget. And there's a lot of other things. I have a number of bills that I'm moving. Last year, we shelved all of our bills, which was the right thing to do so that we could focus on anything that people needed. None of us have been through a pandemic before. On Team Leyva, I spent about $100,000 of campaign money on food for people in Senate District 20. We bought rice. We partnered with a mill up in Northern California, and we bought 20,000 pounds of rice, which was 4,000 5-pound bags, and we gave them out to our food banks in the district. We also bought thousands of pounds of beans, thousands of pounds of pasta, whatever they needed, we wanted to provide, because I always like to say, I can't fix everything, but I can try and make sure that people can eat. So just this weekend, I was at Food for Life Ministry in Chino, and they're doing pretty good on food, but they had literally 12 diapers, and a woman came in and said, may I have those diapers? And of course they gave them to her. So I made a little Costco run this weekend, and Team Leyva is going to donate a couple thousand diapers to Food for Life Ministry. So those are some things that we did work on and we're still working on. The bills, I won't run down all of them. I always say I fall in love with my bills, but it can be a little boring to everyone else hearing about them. But I tend to focus on the same things: equity in education, equity in the workplace, women's issues, and environmental justice. Those are really my 4 areas that the 41 bills that the governor signed, both governors have signed into law since I've been in the Senate. That's really what they're focused around. So I would love to open it up for questions. I am a politician, so I can talk long, but I think you would rather ask me some questions. So tell me what's on your mind.
Thank you, Senator. It looks like we have a couple in the chat already. Are
Okay.
you able to access the chat?
I am. Let me just click right over there. Okay. SB 731, the Sunsetting Records Act. Okay, whose bill is that and what does it do? That is not my bill.
That's Senator Maria Elena Toranzo. It's the SB 731 Sunsetting Records Act, which would create a comprehensive process to automatically seal conviction and arrest records in the state of California once a person has fully completed their sentence and successfully gone 2 years without further contact.
Gotcha. So that is a bill that I will definitely support on the floor. I do not believe it's come up. This week that we're going into is what's called House of Origins deadline week. So we have to have all of our bills that are moving forward off the Senate floor. I'm sure we will have people who will not want to vote for that bill. And I'm not talking about Republicans. We have 31 Democrats in the Senate, but we have a huge contingency, unfortunately, of moderate Democrats, which I personally don't have much time for, because we can't count on them to do things that I feel are democratic values. So what I can tell you about 731 is I think it's a great idea. I think it's long overdue, and I will be happy to support it when it comes before me. It'll probably be one day this week. We're on the floor all this week. I welcome your thoughts on the master plan on aging and the recall effort on Newsom. Okay. The master plan on aging, I have not read it yet because I don't sit on that committee, and I don't not that I don't participate, but I'm not a part of it. Betsy Butler, who is, I think, still the current chair, she's the person that I go to whenever I have any plans about that. But I apologize, I do not have any facts at my fingertips. The recall effort on Gavin Newsom, I have some good news. We had always thought that the longer this drew on, and if there would be an election in the fall, that was to his benefit, because the longer things go, the better things are getting. People are getting their vaccines, things are starting to open. June 15th, we're going to see him do a full reopening of California. So I think that all benefits him. Latest polling, we just had an update last week. Latest polling shows that the split is exactly like it was when he was elected. 60% of people support him, 38% don't support him. So we do know that this was just the Republicans and them being their naughty selves. So Gavin should be fine. There's no reason, as I've said to anyone who's asked me, even some people who think he should be recalled, I've told them, I said, that does not benefit anyone in California. Even if you think he's doing a terrible job, he would get unelected. We'd have someone in for 1 year, then that person would have to run again. And let's just say that a Republican won. We have a supermajority in both houses. We're not going to let this Republican governor get anything done. So it really doesn't help anyone. It wouldn't benefit anyone. But what I would say to all of us, we have to vote, because Democrats were not always good about that. Republicans are fired up about this. They're going to get out. They're going to vote. We have to make sure we vote, and we have to make sure we tell all of our friends and family to vote. Well, I haven't seen it. I understand the Pomona Library Entrance has been redone and it's just beautiful. Yes. So yes. Oh, and I saw pictures and it looks so amazing. That was one of my budget requests in 2019. I think we secured either 238,000 or 246. I don't remember the exact number, but I saw pictures on Facebook. I was very disappointed. I was in Sacramento, so I wasn't able to attend, but it looks so beautiful. I'm just a huge fan of libraries, period. I think that as a kid, I can remember how excited I was when I used to get to go to the library. And I just always felt smart just walking in. And I felt like there was so much knowledge there for me to learn. And now libraries do so much more than when I was a kid. So very excited about the Pomona Library. And actually, Team Leyva just did a donation for their gala last week. All right, those are all the questions I see in the chat. Does anyone want to virtually raise your hand or just start talking? We're a small group.
I'll
Yes,
throw one
Sam
out.
and Dee.
I was trying to find the background, but I understand last week that Assemblyman Chris Holden is putting in a item request for the full funding of the Gold Line all the way to Montclair. So hopefully that's something that reaches both houses and
We did a letter last week too, Team Leyva. Yes, we're very excited about that.
It could happen.
And this is the year to do it because we do have a lot of extra money. Granted, a lot of it's spoken for, but we should be able to find the money. So this is the year to make it happen.
Yeah, and luckily now this way, we don't have to go to the feds. And if we go to the feds, then we have to federalize a project and that just takes a lot longer. So
that's right. I totally agree, Sam. So fingers crossed. But yeah, we did our letter last week.
Awesome.
At the behest of Assembly Member Holden. Dee.
Thank you, and thanks for coming to see us.
My pleasure.
I don't know to what extent you might be involved in the 30-30 process, which is associated with the Assembly Bill 30, I think, and is about reducing carbon emissions by 30% by 2030. When you mentioned the large number of moderate Democrats we've got in the Senate, and I'm sure the Assembly as well, I started to feel pretty depressed about the prospects of our getting a little environmental justice and getting a little progress on climate change. What do you think?
I worry a lot about that. The Senate especially has gotten more moderate in the last few years. We continue to pick up seats, but if we're going to pick up seats, and I tell people I would rather have 23 solid Democratic votes than 31, and just wondering if I'm going to get enough to get my bill off the floor. 30-30, I know just a little bit about it because it hasn't come to the Senate yet, but I mean, obviously it's something I would support. Hopefully they can get it off the floor because they're a little bit moderate too. And then it comes over to us and we'll just see, okay, just between all of us here, y'all know I come out of labor and I love my labor people, but the building trades, they're so hardcore on this stuff. I mean, I was on a call with someone who you all know who shall remain nameless, and he told me last week, well, Senator, gas and oil aren't going away. I said, well, we got to make them go away. But they're so worried about the jobs, which, hey, I want people to have a living wage jobs, absolutely, but not at the expense of the environment, not at the expense of our children's future, and our own future. So, but the building trades have been putting a hard push and pressure on people. We have a Senate little study group that gets together about every 4 weeks, and there's a pretty good number of us, and we talk about, because we all have to vote as a block, because if we don't vote as a block, then the building trades are going to pick us off. I don't really care. I love them. They love me. And I told them, I said, I support good jobs, but I also support the environment. So we've got to figure this out. But it's a little bit tricky. They have really been flexing their muscles this year. And so I do worry about getting bills like that off the Senate floor. So, but we'll keep working on it. And I never have a problem talking to my colleagues and trying to put a little friendly pressure on them, shall we say. Chris.
Yeah, so I'm curious about this one bill. It's in the Assembly, And so I'm wondering, how familiar you are with it, and what its prospects are. And it's AB 1400. It's the California Guaranteed Health Care for
Oh.
All Act. It's Calra's bill.
He pulled it.
He pulled it.
He made it a 2-year bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my question can still be asked, though, which is this: a couple of years ago, there was a similar effort that was pushed quite heavily, particularly by the nurses, right? The California Nurses Association, and the speaker, right? The speaker pulled it. He didn't let it go forward, and the reason he said that he did that was he called it a shell of a bill, right? It wasn't detailed. It didn't have a funding mechanism. My question is simply this: I mean, what are the differences between this AB 1400 bill and the prior bill that was pulled? I mean, are they fessing up with details? Are they providing the funding mechanism? Can you give us any insight into what's up with this bill?
I don't actually know. I'll tell you another little secret. I don't look at assembly bills unless they make it off the assembly floor, because I have hundreds of Senate bills that I have to read. So if they die over there, then I didn't waste my time on them. But the speaker, when he said that a couple of years ago, he's right. There was no funding mechanism in it. But you know what? Sometimes you pass something with the intent of showing people what you intend to do. And you let people know that this is where we're going and we're going to figure it out. We had a huge argument and debate about that in the Senate, in caucus, before we actually all went out and voted on the bill a couple of years ago. And we did get it off the Senate floor. And candidly, it was, the pro tem at the time was twisting people's arms and saying, you got to vote for this. I'm always going to support some form of universal single payer health care. The way we do health care in California, the way we do health care in the United States is just it's just messed up. I mean, COVID has shown that. I mean, when hospitals, I don't think I had any idea how much our hospitals relied on elective surgeries to make their money. Shouldn't our hospitals be being reimbursed because they're making people healthy, not because I want to go in and fix my nose or whatever? I mean, that could be important too, but that shouldn't be what our hospitals are relying on for their funding. So I'm not sure what I haven't done a side-by-side comparison of the two bills, so I'm not sure what the differences are. And it's going to take leadership in both houses for us to do something like that, either AB 1400 or another one. And candidly, Gavin's pretty tight with the medical industry. So I don't even know if we got something to his desk, how likely it would be he would sign it. We'd have to see what it looked like. But I have less hope for a single payer, and I'm sorry to say that, method of healthcare today than I had a couple years ago. So who we elect matters. Who we put in those seats matters. All right, Don, is it you or Catherine? You got your hand up. How are you guys?
Hi.
Hi.
You were just talking about climate change and how there's a block in the Senate that you guys are all pretty tight and you talk about these issues. Yeah. And that made me curious as to, when you talk about climate change and its needs, what are the things that we need to, to try to mitigate when we talk about climate change? Why do you want to do something about climate change?
Great question. So there are a variety of issues. I will tell you that the #1 creator of methane gas is something that we in California and across the country aren't super excited to stop doing. The #1 producer is cows. And until we get people to stop eating so much beef, that's going to continue to be a problem. But one of the big issues, especially in my district, is the pollution caused by big trucks. We have more warehouses in Senate District 20 than anywhere in the country, and only one other place in the world. Warehouses don't pollute, but the trucks that come in and out every day do. So being able to make sure that those trucks are electric, or even just 2 years ago, let's see, 21, 22, 2019, we had SB 210 signed into law. That was my big trucks bill. Did you know that prior to then, big rigs did not have to get a smog check? Like we all get a smog check on our cars. So in 1970, when smog checks came into being, whoever introduced that did not want to take on the trucking industry, so they just left them out. Number one, that was short-sighted. But number two, I always tell people, don't look at taking on an industry. Look at, I want something that they don't want to give me. How do I make that happen? Those are my old negotiating days. It's helped me much in the Senate. So it took us 3 years to get that bill, and the California Trucking Association was enthusiastically neutral on the bill. So that was a big win for us. This year I have another bill to help small and medium-sized companies be able to purchase electric vehicles, electric trucks, small trucks for short deliveries, and then the bigger trucks. You know, Amazon, everybody just, thinks they're so wonderful. I'm sure you guys probably don't love them that much. I don't love them at all. I've only ordered 2 things on Amazon in my life. I'm very proud of that. And it's because I was desperate and couldn't find it anyplace else. And, they tout all the great job that they're doing with their trucks that are electric and whatnot. Well, it's easy when you have more money than God to be able to do that. Other companies would like to do the same thing. So we at the state have to find subsidies for them, ways that these companies can do this. Some of the other things that we talk about when it comes to climate change, has to do with emissions on power producing plants. How do we switch over from natural gas to electricity? How do we make sure that we are harnessing that electricity and we have batteries that can actually, power a house or power your car further than 230 miles. So it really isn't, and it isn't just California, it can't be just us, but we have a president now who believes in this and wants to change things. I was so excited when President Biden drove the electric Ford 150. I told my husband, whose truck is 7 years old, I said, maybe we'll get you an electric Ford 150. That would be kind of fun. So we shall see. Who knows how much they are anyway, but we're trying to do our part in California, but it's the bigger picture that we need to worry about as well. So I hope that kind of in a roundabout way answered your question. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I was more thinking of, what kind of arguments are you giving labor about, do they understand that their children's future is at stake with global warming?
Candidly, they don't care. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. The laborers haven't spoken to me in about 3 years because we went toe to toe professionally over some warehouses that they were building right next to schools in Bloomington, that they were building literally in people's backyards. And I said, guys, I know you're building a union. This is terrific. But number one, you're leaving behind warehouse jobs, which are shitty, low-paying jobs. So you're not giving this community anything good. I said, and number two, 1,500 trucks a day are coming in and out of these warehouses right next to a school, right in someone's backyard. And so I said to one of the gentlemen, I said, you wouldn't want that in your backyard. Oh, I wouldn't care. I'm like, yeah, whatever, you're lying. So honestly, they just don't care. And that is a bigger issue, is how we get them to care and how we get them to see that green jobs can be just as good and living wage jobs as the gas and oil jobs can be. So we probably have to do a better job on that. Michael.
Yeah, thank you. So speaking of all the trucks and things, from Amazon and others, I was traveling up to Northern California where I grew up, Highway 5, and I may be exaggerating, but I don't think by much that at least 1 in 4 trucks was an Amazon truck. And they're using our infrastructure. And in context, I was dismayed when it hit the news that they paid 0 taxes for several years in a row, and almost 0 last year, I think, or in 2019. And aren't we, subsidizing their profits And
100%. And they're paying California taxes. They're not paying federal taxes. And that's where I'm just hoping that Joe Biden is going to put an end to that, because you are 100% right. They are using our roads. They should pay for some of it. But then also, I made a few trips to Sacramento driving last fall when I wasn't comfortable flying yet. And you're right, like 1 in 5, 1 in 4 trucks or vans was Amazon. My husband and I saw it too. But if we could just get the federal government to make these huge companies pay. Now, I don't even know if we want them to pay their fair share, pay a portion of something, because they're not paying anything. And it would be life-changing for so many people. They are paying their taxes in California, but it's the federal government that needs to really, I hate to say it, stick it to them, because you're 100% right. They're like the Walmart of online buying. Anybody else?
Thank
Yeah.
you, Senator. Oh, we do. Carol, go ahead.
Carol, I think you're on mute, Carol.
Just, I mean, I'm not very well versed on this, but usually we use gas tax money to help support our construction of roads and repairs and all. What kind of taxes is Amazon, say, paying? Is that income taxes, or are they paying anything to the road tax if they're operating on the electric?
They would pay the same road tax. Not all of their vehicles are electric, so the ones that are gas, they are paying the same that all of us are paying. The electric ones, they have to pay just their registration fee, like we all pay each year. But there's nothing else, and that's kind of it's a hard spot. We had a lot of hard conversations about this, because we don't want to adversely affect individuals who are buying electric cars and driving them. And trust me, there's a lot of conversation about this, about what do we do, what can we do, but then also I can tell you that there would be very little will in at least the Senate to do something singling out Amazon. I would be all for something like that. And actually, there is a bill, I just briefly heard about it in the Assembly, that passed off the floor, so it's coming to us, and they're calling it the Amazon bill. So I don't know exactly what it does, but it does something. But you're 100% right, Carol. It's the gas tax that's paying for our roads and whatnot, SB $1. And I'm sure many of you have seen, as I have, my goodness gracious, we are doing all kinds of road repair, which is great. But I was like, wow, it would be also great if I could get around to where I needed to go.
Yeah.
So someday when it's all done, it'll be good. But we do need to figure out something and make sure Amazon's paying their fair share in a lot of areas.
Any other questions for the senator? There was one last minute question to
Was it
see.
Dawn?
Oh, it actually came to me. How many of our group here today are constituents of Senator Leyva's office?
Yay!
And I like Chris's earlier comment that let's see what happens after redistricting.
Yes.
Maybe more of us would be just as lucky. And I'll tell you, I'm just to our group here that I've known Connie before she was elected, and it's one of those rare traits where, you know, people go up to Sacramento and they get what's called, or I've heard it called, the dome disease, and they really do kind of forget, you know, their origins and where they come from. And Connie definitely is one of those that has not forgotten where she comes from, and has been very, very knowledgeable and knowing how Sacramento works, but still with her roots here in our hometown. And Connie, it's always great to see you, and we are so fortunate in so many ways beyond your constituents to have you up there, and the state is very fortunate. So
I appreciate that. And I have to say, Alfonso, I'll get to your question real quick. You guys are the reason I'm in office. What happens in Sacramento, it's a part of the job I don't love. But being able to talk to constituents, hear their concerns, even if you're not my constituents, what I vote on affects every single person in the state. So I like to hear from everyone. Okay, quickly, Alfonso, I don't want to take up too much time. Oh, I think he might. Did you freeze? Do you have a question? You're on mute.
Yeah. Senator, what can you tell us about the bullet train? Any progress in that direction?
Yes, it is. High-speed rail is moving forward. Actually, we're in a little bit in Senate District 20 in a little bit of a kerfuffle with them because they want to bring a big hub of it into Colton. And even they tell us there's absolutely no benefit to Colton. It will just cause more smog and more pollution. So, but it's a long way till it gets to Colton because it's still, you know, way up there in Bakersfield, but it's moving along much more slowly, I think, than any of us had hoped. But the funding is there. It always has been there. So they just seem to keep moving forward.
We like the, Connie's the biggest supporter of the non-bullet train, which is the gold line.
Yes.
The
I love
slow
the gold
speed,
line.
the slow speed train.
It's convenient and easy to use.
Yeah, that's right. Chris had to run off to attend something in his family, but he wanted me to give you a big thanks and our club to give the senator here a great round of applause virtually. Thank you so much, Connie, for coming and visiting us and sharing your work up in Sacramento. And again, we really do appreciate everything you're doing up there.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate you and I appreciate all of you. And even if you don't live in the district, you can always call our office. We're happy to help. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Connie, thank you.
All right, folks. Well, Connie's awesome, and we really are. For those of you that are constituents, you're very fortunate. All right, we're going to move on to the business portion of the meeting. We do have an agenda for approval. Did everyone get a chance to see it online? Any questions or comments on the agenda? If not, is there a motion for approval?
I move.
There's a motion, and I can't see everyone's faces here. Let's see.
I second.
All right, and without objection, so ordered. How about with the minutes of April 26th? Is there a motion? Or first, are there any questions on the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval of the April 26th minutes?
So
I'll move.
moved.
There's a motion and second.
I'll second then.
Carol will second. And without objection, so ordered. All right, for reports, I just want to, I'll start off with the reports here. We have an ongoing Saturday morning executive committee discussions on all the changes that we're making to bylaws, but also the core issue of where we want to be and where we want to go rather as a club. And so that's an ongoing discussion that we're having with hopefully a report coming out soon. But I think the biggest part of that is getting more active in both legislatively, but also politically with campaigns and just a vehicle for how do we move forward with something like that. But with on the legislative front, there were a couple of bills, and I'm just going to go ahead and see if I could take them up now. There was a we were notified of two bills that we wanted to urge the membership to take action on. One is the anti-solar bill, AB 1139. We're urging our folks to get letters or emails to Assemblyman Holden to tell him no on that bill. That bill is I think it's being driven by which one is it? Not Southern California Edison, but the other PG&E as a way to try to offset the costs or the revenues that they're missing out on with solar power, with folks that have solar. So they're hiding a new fee in this bill, but it's being marketed as a more of a climate bill. I don't know, Mike, do you have more information on that bill?
Well, yeah, I had something up here. Hold on a second, but they're passing it off as an environmental justice bill, and there are a number of sort of misleading factors that they're putting forward to make up money that they apparently they think they will be losing. But you know, I don't know enough to get into all the details, but there's 4 or 5 points that can be easily debunked, and the amount that they want to charge consumers is greatly inflated over what it should be. Now, there are reasons why they need to maintain the grid, but there are also all kinds of reasons why they profit off of long distance grid, the long distance grid, you know, of transporting energy over long distances. And that's some of the, but they haven't been upkeeping it. And that's some of the reason why we've had a few of these wildfires, these terrible wildfires. And part of the reason they're in trouble because they're in bankruptcy. And, you know, so their business model is failing, and they're trying to find a way to get the solar industry and the average person who wants solar or has solar on their roofs to pay for you know, their lack of planning or you know, lack of right kind of planning. So yeah, I think definitely we want to lobby Holden about this. From what I understand from a few people, that he's been a little bit ambivalent about committing to this. So I think he needs a definite nudge or a push from the Democratic clubs in this area, his constituents, so that he knows that we're paying attention and we expect him to represent the best interests of the citizens of his district.
So that's AB 1139 that we're hoping people are going to vote. We want a no on that one. We didn't officially take a position as a club only because we just heard about it earlier today. The other one is the plastics bill. I don't know, Michael, if you have more information on that one.
I don't. I'm sorry.
I can't recall who asked us to bring that one up, but I don't have information on that one myself. All right. Other than that, there will be more information, as I said earlier, with the a full report on everything that's happening with these meetings that we've been having Saturday mornings. They're really fun. You guys should. I invite you all to join us if you're not doing anything on Saturday mornings. With that, our next report is Carol with Treasurer's Report.
Hi, we haven't received much money and we haven't spent much money this month. Our balance right now is $7,383. And well, we did get a new, I saw a new member. Carol Lee corresponded with him and I just read it. I'm not very good at my.
Simon, I believe it was, and he was on earlier.
Yeah, I thought I saw him here earlier. Anyway, we're always glad to get new members, and anybody who hasn't sent in your dues since last, if you didn't, usually we have everybody we rally you at the party, the holiday party right before Christmas, which we didn't have this year. So if you're confused about whether or not you have paid your dues for 2021, you can always give me a call or send me an email. And I'm going to put my number and email in the chat if you're interested, if you want to check on it. Or if you call, Carol is easier to catch than I am, but you can call her and she'll let me know. Oh God, sorry. Somebody thinks he's invited.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for Carol? Our money person, our money bags. Thank you, Carol.
This month, after the end of this month also is when we have a report due that we send to the feds, the FEC, and also one to the federal or the state Fair Political Practices, FPPC. So I'll be doing that after the end of June. June 30th is the cutoff. So there we always put all of our expenses and income for the state, if it's over $100, it'll go in there.
Yeah. Well, of course, we would love to be getting more money in, but I like what you said earlier, how we're not spending money right now anyway. So it's always like good advice you get from that wise father that tells you, if you don't have money, don't spend money. We don't have money. We're not getting money in right now. But all right, VP of programs, Chris had it. Like I said earlier, he had to run off to attend to some family information, but on the agenda, you see that the upcoming programs, we have our next Friday luncheon program. We have Asaya Junisbai, I'm massacred her name, but she's our Claremont High School Young Dems Club president and member of the Claremont Student Equity Coalition. And she will give us a really great presentation, and really is one of those voices that we really want to engage more in our club, which is one of the things we're talking about for our club, is getting more of those younger voices. But yeah, Asaya should be a great speaker, and that's June 11th. And then we also have on our next general membership meeting, which is on the 28th of June, we have Jeanette Royston, president of the Pomona Valley Branch NAACP. And she was, if you recall, she was scheduled to be with us a while back, but she had a conflict, or we had a conflict, I forget what happened, but we got her back to come up with us on, come visit us on June 28th. So that's what Chris has been working on. How about, and then tonight, I don't see Andy here. We're gonna have a quick meeting tonight. So we're going through these reports pretty quick. Our VP of membership, Andy, is not here. And then Merrill Ring, our issues and voice, he's celebrating his 45th or so. He couldn't recall exactly which number, but his anniversary. So good for Merrill. But we do have Debbie, who could give us our political strategy update.
I am a current member of the LACDP Legislative Action Committee, and we meet tomorrow night. Just to let folks know, we are taking up AB 1139, and then there's several housing bills that are going to be taken up. And to give you a little bit of background on the Legislative Action Committee, these are where members of our committee or a member of LACDP brings us legislation. We review it, we decide to support, oppose, or take no position on. So there's a lot of housing bills that are out there that we're working on. We have a completely full agenda for tomorrow night. One of them is not the plastics bill, though, just to let folks know. Also, what's very interesting to piggyback upon Connie Leyva's and the building trades, we do have members of our committee that are part of the building trades, and they have been kind of obstructive a little bit with us. And so it's been a little more challenging than normal within our committee. So stay tuned. We'll give you some reports back on which ones we're supporting and which we're not from there. And also, just to let folks know, do like Connie on Facebook. You'll know about events that come up with her. And let me circle back to Chris Holden and not taking a position on some of this stuff. He gets a lot of money from the utility companies, and that seems to push him in a direction that rather than constituents, it seems to be getting the money. I don't believe he signed the not to take any money from the utilities, public utilities. I don't believe he was one that signed that. Mike might remember if he did or not, but that's a problem we've had. So
Yeah, I don't think he signed it.
I don't think he did. We've asked and asked and asked. And if you look to his FPPC reports. He takes a lot of money from PG&E and Edison and other utility companies. And going back to PG&E, they're still paying off all those fines. And that's why they're, as have been mentioned, that they're going bankrupt.
There's a
Don.
question or a hand up from Bobby, Peggy and Bobby. You're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Debbie, I want to thank you.
There you are.
I want to thank you for your relentless pursuit of Chris Holden, our neighbor in Pasadena.
Yes.
On his unwholesome relationship with PG&E. And I'm really glad that you're pushing that. And we are here making sure that he also gets some fire put under his feet about that. And it's something that demonstrates how easy it is for big money. The New York Times reported his contributions from PG&E 2 years ago were $73,000.
Yep.
Pretty big shot of money. And that's the problem of how this system works. Now, Sam, I had a question about future speakers. You would like me to talk about that now, or should I wait till the end of the meeting?
Actually, no, right now would be great. And that way we could, we have a couple new business items that we're going to get into, but yeah, if you have some suggestions.
Well, thank you very much. As you know, I've been a long time advocate on matters involving privacy and personal confidentiality. And I'm a long time member of the board of the Southern California ACLU. In that context, I want to talk to you a few minutes about a very odd and almost innocuous, what seems innocuous at first, but it's the kind of situation that takes a community like Pasadena or Claremont and turns it into Ferguson, Missouri. And it has to do with the issue of automatic license plate readers, which seems something that's almost of no consequence at all. So what, you drive around town, the cops see your license plate and get a check on who you are. However, there is a pattern that happens with precisely that kind of technology that is exactly the reason Ferguson, Missouri happens. What happens is you get a nickel-dime infraction because you drove through a stop sign and it got recorded and your license plate got recorded, or you had a toll booth violation. You get it, you say, what the hell, you throw it away. Then it goes on your record. The next time the cop stops you, you've got an unanswered infraction. That becomes more serious. And this happens more and more, and it was a pattern established in Ferguson, Missouri, as to one of the problems that was going on there was that African Americans were driving through town getting stopped by cops, and for nickel-dime infractions, they were ignoring the infractions. Then suddenly the infractions pile up. Then you've got a black guy running away from a cop, getting shot in the back, and that's what it leads to. To that particular end, also having been nailed improperly for some minor consequences for toll booth violations from an automatic license plate reader, I have a personal interest in this. However, the ACLU has an absolutely excellent speaker from the Southern California ACLU headquarters who knows all the details about the difficulties of this technology of automatic license plate reading, which is something that seems almost trivia, but I think you can see how that can build up to a big problem for your local police. So they are working and they have a speaker who's ready to set up and do a talk. And I think I would like to refer this to you to discuss as to whether you'd like to schedule him. I will send you his contact information, Sam. And if people would like to have him, I've heard him talk. He's excellent on the subject. He's a very accomplished lawyer and a civil rights lawyer. And I think that you'll find this speaker to be very interesting.
That's a great idea and appreciate that, especially here in Claremont, where these automatic license plate readers have been used extensively and you know, and in some cases, people would say effectively. I work in the city of industry where we're working with the city of La Puente and some surrounding cities to look into getting more of those automatic license plate readers. So it'd be really good to hear some of the pros and cons of that. So yeah, I would appreciate that. And whatever information you send me, or if you want, send it directly to Chris and he could follow up. That would be great.
I will send it to you and him, you and Chris, and also to Muhammad, the speaker, as a communication of introduction, and explain the background from here so that we can get him out to Claremont. I think you're going to really like this guy. It's really an important issue, but it also explains how somebody like Ferguson arises from something as innocuous as a bad license plate stop.
I did want to just follow up briefly on the Chris Holden issue with the utilities. My understanding, and I've known Chris for a while, my understanding is that the speaker put him as chair of the utilities. What is, I forget the official name of the committee, but it's basically the committee that oversees the utilities, which is considered a juice committee, meaning that it's one of those committees where the chairperson is able to drive campaign funds from those through that committee to the members. And so he's being put in a in that awkward or kind of a difficult, damn if you do, damn if you don't situation where he needs to be able to get the funding from these utilities, drive it into some candidates, Democrats, of course, and that's how they're able to, and he's in that position. If he's really good at it, he's really bad, and if he's bad at it, he wouldn't be there. So it's one of those situations, but I don't know if anyone's heard it differently. I'm sure there's differences of opinions, but in talking to him, I remember him expressing that kind of concern. But I think he himself, the funding that he gets should be kind of tempered, especially when legislation like this 1139, which makes sense. And I'm not a big fan of PG&E. I'm not a big fan of Edison, but PG&E especially. All right, under new business, and Debbie started discussing this a bit, the email distribution of the LA County Democratic Party priority legislation training for bill tracking. There are going to be some training sessions. Actually, wait, is this two different items? Am I confusing this?
Debbie's on mute.
Uh-oh. Debbie was going to talk on this one, right? Does anyone recall if this was two different items or is it one item?
This is Carolee. As I understood it, the bill tracking was going to be an offer for training.
Okay.
And that's why I separated them.
Okay, so there are two different. So there is and that was through the county, right?
Yes, that was my understanding.
Okay.
Through the central committee, wasn't it? The LACDP?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
All right, Debbie. So we're under new business, and we were going to talk about the email distribution. You kind of started talking about it a little bit on the priority legislation, and then we wanted to talk about the training for bill tracking.
Yes, we can do a training. We have again, going back to the Legislative Action Committee, we have a training booklet that we can help people for teaching folks how to track bills, who to call, that type of thing. It would involve probably a full meeting, either our regular meeting or maybe something on a Saturday. So, because it is, I don't have an exact amount of time, but I can find that out. But if people are interested in knowing how to track bills, how do you make the calls, who do you put the pressure on, we can do that for the club.
And I think that's very timely with, like, tonight we're discussing AB 1139, but what's happening is there are a lot, especially like, for example, housing bills. There's so many.
Right.
It's very difficult to try to keep track of everything. But we did want to see if we could start prioritizing and then really use, anything that's happening locally, but more importantly, I think following the lead from the county to take more effective roles from the club, meaning that we could write more letters and we could be more engaged in legislation and taking a role on the and
Been so good.
legislators to hold on, let me
Say goodbye to you.
getting our legislators to take positions. So that's a great service from the county, which is something that if anyone here wants to take them up on it. And it's also, I think Merrill's going to be putting that in the Voorhees as well. And then how about training for bill tracking? Debbie, were you going to talk more about that?
That's what I was just talking about. That's part of the offer that we can do it. I need to get folks pinned down, and if folks, we need to have more than one person that would be interested in it, but we do have a training booklet that we can provide, and then go through and do the training.
And we did have a part of our club where we do our rapid response team that was very engaged in some legislation, mostly federal stuff. But we do need to get more engagement on that. And maybe with this training and bill tracking, we'll be able to get more of our members involved in that.
That would be fabulous.
Okay, with that, the only other announcement I have, and again, this one came up earlier tonight, and Thorwood is has a GoFundMe page for to help the children over at the Fairplex. Carol Lee, I don't know if you have more information on that program or on that GoFundMe.
I wish I could pull it up or something, but you can go to GoFundMe, and I think it's NAC, which is what I'm, of course, I'll call them in. Of course, I lose my thought. But anyway, they're raising money. They need shoes for the children who are there. And so they have a GoFundMe page. You can either go to the NAC, which is,
Neighborhood
Carol, what is it?
Neighborhood Action Committee.
Yeah, okay.
Newcomers Action.
Thank you. Thank you.
Newcomers Access Center.
Okay, good. Thank you. And they have a GoFundMe page, and they have over $2,000, but I think they want 15,000. And they're I don't know how many children there are there and how many more are coming, but they would, and every pair of shoes and 5 pair of socks are going to cost $30 per child. That's what I know. Oh, and Mike put something up in the chat.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know if that link is, this is from our Indivisible email blast, but I can send out more information too. But there's a link here that goes directly to the site where you can make a donation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Mike, for putting that up there. All right, folks, is there anything else for the good of the order for today's meeting here? Yes, Michael.
Just one bit of interest that may be of interest to you. At our Indivisible meeting on this coming Monday, Norma Torres is going to be a guest speaker, and she has some compelling stories to tell, which I think she's going to share with us. One of them is her experiences at the Capitol during the insurrection on January 6th. And some of you may already be familiar with the stories because she did make the rounds on the major networks and things. And she also has a compelling story of an immigrant, someone who came from Guatemala, I believe, you know, and so she's not, so there are a few people that may be in her district because she's in Pomona, yes. So, you know, that's of interest to you too, because she's your representative, but just for the stories and, you know, the firsthand accounting that she has, it may be of interest, and anyone here is invited if you want. We can send the link. You do have to register in advance, but
that was in today's LA Times, right? I think I read it in the Times.
well, she had there was an article about her immigration story that I read that I think was from the LA Times. That may be what you're referring to.
Right.
There was one in yesterday.
Oh, was it yesterday?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think, you know, when you can get firsthand accounts of those kind of things, those can be pretty gut wrenching and harrowing stories. So anyway, you're all invited. I just thought I'd make a plug for that.
Cool. Thank you, Michael. All right. Any other announcements? Karen? You're on mute.
This is the first time I've ever attended a meeting this way, and I was delighted in every way with what I heard and what's going on, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. And that actually raises a great point. We are hoping to start going back live. We are working around Pilgrim Place and their calendar. And so we're thinking right now that June will still be in this format. And then we have our 2 months. I think we're off. We go dark in July and June, or July and August. And so we'll see when we come back if we are fortunate enough to be in person, all vaccinated, and a little bit, at least I could speak for me, a little bit chunkier, but need to work off my COVID body here. Don, you also had a question or comment?
Yeah, I was kind of looking through Facebook earlier today, and I think Robert Reich had something, and then I thought, well, you know, I'd better read it and so that I sort of know what I'm talking about. And then I just ran across Occupy Democrats. Says, confessed felon Michael Flynn says a Myanmar-like military coup should happen in America. And then Myanmar's military violently seized control of the country from its civilian government in late January, detained. Anyway, it looks to me like Michael Flynn is, if he really said this, isn't that treason for him to say something like that?
Wow. It's a good question, and but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, and it doesn't even shock me anymore. I'm sure most of us.
He's gone completely off the rails.
Yeah.
Flynn is.
You're right.
He's crazy.
All right. Well, thanks for that. And then again, there is check out the chat room for information on the Michael actually put up some really good stuff in there. So we'll go ahead and think we're done for tonight. Again, thank you all for joining us, and we'll be in this format again next month for sure. But we will see where we'll be when we come back in September. So with that, good night, everyone. And
Good night.
Good
night.
For sure.
Thank you, Sam.
Remember, join us at the executive committees. Those are really fun. Thanks.
Okay, down with Michael Flynn.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, guys. Good night, everyone.
good night.
Oh, hi, Chris. I'm back.